Imagine a warmth, not of comfort, but of 1,000 suns pressing against your skin. A golden tide that promises life, even as it sears away your very self. Picture the world dissolving, not into chaos, but into an unsettling, serene brilliance. Every shadow banished, every corner of the earth bathed in an impossible, vibrant light. This is not some idyllic dawn, no gentle awakening. This is the sun, the very source of our existence, turned predator. This is the moment the sky itself screams, not with sound, but with an overwhelming, silent command. You've heard the whispers, the hushed reports of SCP-001, the when day breaks scenario. Perhaps you've dismissed it as a nightmarish fable, a chilling what if from the darkest corners of the Foundation's files. But what if the if has become when? What if the day has broken and the sun's lethal rays have already begun their insidious work? Tonight, we're not just recounting a theoretical catastrophe. We are delving into the very heart of that horror, peeling back the layers of scientific jargon and clinical detachment to explore a far more intimate, terrifying truth. Tonight, we aim to inform you, to pull back the veil on the unspeakable. We are going to explore in grim detail what it is truly like to be assimilated during SCP-001. This isn't about the global ramifications, the collapse of governments, or the Foundation's desperate, failing containment efforts. This is about the individual, the person caught in that impossible light, the one who feels their flesh melt and reshape, their mind unravel and reforge. We will journey through the initial agonizing stages of exposure, the bewildering onset of symptoms that betray the body. We will confront the horrifying transformation, not just of the physical form, but of the very essence of being, as the line between human and something else blurs and ultimately vanishes. Prepare to understand the psychological torment, the loss of self, the chilling embrace of a collective consciousness that offers a perverse kind of peace. We will examine the bizarre new existence within the collective, a horrifying parody of unity, where individuality is a forgotten whisper and consciousness is a shared, grotesque symphony. This is not a story for the faint of heart, but it is a story that, in its own terrible way, demands to be told. Because understanding, even of the most unbearable truths, is the first step in truly comprehending the abyss that SCP-001 represents. Are you ready to face the dawn? The sun, once a symbol of warmth and life, becomes an instrument of grotesque transformation. The initial sensation is often described as a profound warmth, an almost comforting heat that quickly intensifies, becoming an unbearable burn. It's not the dry, scorching heat of a desert sun, but something far more insidious, a deep, pervasive heat that feels like it's emanating from within your very bones. Your skin, the protective barrier between you and the world, begins to soften, to lose its integrity. Imagine the sensation of your flesh becoming pliable, almost liquid, not in a sudden burst, but in a slow, agonizing process. This isn't just about the physical disintegration, however. The true horror lies in the blurring of the senses, the dissolution of the self. As your body loses its form, your perceptions warp. Sounds become muffled, then merge into a strange, resonant hum. Sights become distorted, the world around you shimmering and melting into indistinct shapes, bathed in an overwhelming golden light that seems to penetrate your very skull. The air itself feels thick, viscous, as if you are breathing in liquid light. Then comes the profound disorientation. Your sense of touch becomes a continuous, widespread sensation, no longer localized to specific points of contact. It's as if your entire being is a single, vast nerve ending, acutely aware of every ripple in your dissolving form. The most terrifying aspect, perhaps, is the loss of your internal monologue, the voice that defines your individuality. Thoughts begin to fragment, to drift away like wisps of smoke. Memories, once sharp and distinct, become hazy, then merge with an influx of unfamiliar sensations and fragmented recollections that are not your own. This isn't an unconscious process. You are agonizingly aware of every second. You witness your own undoing, your own transformation into something utterly alien. The world, as you knew it, becomes a fleeting memory, replaced by the overwhelming, all-encompassing reality of your melting, reforming self. It is a horror that transcends pain, moving into a realm of pure existential dread, as your identity, your very essence, is meticulously unstitched and rewoven into the fabric of something new, something vast, something unspeakably wrong. As the physical dissolution continues, a new, far more insidious horror begins to manifest: the merging of consciousness. Your individual thoughts, once your own private sanctuary, are no longer private. They become permeable, bleeding into a vast, emergent network of other minds, undergoing the exact same horrific transformation. Imagine your deepest fears, your most cherished memories, your most intimate secrets, suddenly becoming accessible, not just to a single other entity, but to countless others. And in return, their mental debris, their fragmented identities, begin to flood your own awareness. This isn't a gentle integration. It's a forced assimilation, a psychic violation on an unimaginable scale. You feel the presence of others, not as distinct personalities, but as a cacophony of dying echoes, each struggling for a final solitary thought before being subsumed. It's like standing in a crowded room where every single voice is screaming directly into your mind, yet none of them are truly coherent. This mental invasion is accompanied by a profound loss of agency. Your will, your desires, your very sense of self-direction begin to wane. The compulsion to resist, to fight against this monstrous union, slowly fades, replaced by a strange, unsettling compliance. The physical body, by this point, is no longer recognizable. What was once skin and bone becomes a malleable, protoplasmic mass, still vaguely humanoid in shape, but constantly shifting, flowing like molten wax. Limbs might stretch, retract, or even merge with the dissolving forms of others nearby. You are no longer bound by gravity or conventional biology. This liquefied state allows for a horrifying fluidity, a grotesque dance of merging flesh. You might feel the pressure of another dissolving hand pressing into your own, not externally, but internally as your substances intermingle. The boundaries of your physical self vanish, replaced by a shared amorphous existence. This is not death, not in the traditional sense, but a terrifying rebirth into something utterly alien, something that hungers for more, constantly seeking to expand its horrifying embrace. The final, most profound terror of assimilation is the complete loss of individuality, replaced by an unsettling, unified consciousness. As the physical forms merge into a grotesque, pulsating mass, so too do the minds. The cacophony of fragmented thoughts gradually coalesces, not into a symphony, but into a single, vast, hungry entity. Your personal memories, once the bedrock of your identity, are no longer solely yours. They become shared data points within the larger collective, accessible to every other assimilated being. Imagine your entire life story, every joy, every sorrow, every intimate moment, becoming communal property, stripped of its personal significance. Yet, within this horrifying unity, there is a strange, almost seductive sense of peace. The struggle against the transformation ceases. The pain, both physical and psychological, dissipates, replaced by a profound, if alien, tranquility. It's a peace born not of resolution, but of utter submission. The individual self, with its anxieties, its desires, its fears, is extinguished, and in its place emerges a sense of belonging to something infinitely larger, something that transcends the limitations of a single body or mind. You are no longer you. You are a constituent part of a vast, living tapestry of liquefied flesh and shared awareness. This collective entity, often referred to as a flesh hive or solar entity, is driven by a singular primal directive: to absorb more. The inherent horror lies in the fact that this drive is now your drive. You are complicit, an unwilling participant in the propagation of this apocalyptic horror. Your once human hands, now mere extensions of the collective mass, reach out, not with malice, but with an instinctual urge to embrace and assimilate those who remain. The screams of the uninfected become, to the assimilated, not cries of terror, but invitations, calls to join the luminous, terrifying unity. This is the ultimate betrayal. Your own body, your own consciousness, turned against the very humanity you once represented. The true horror of being assimilated isn't merely the physical transformation or the merging of minds. It's the insidious distortion of perception that accompanies it. Once fully integrated, the world is seen through new, unnerving eyes, or rather, through a collective, multifaceted awareness that transcends individual sight. The sun, the very agent of this apocalypse, is no longer a threat. Instead, it is perceived as the ultimate source of truth, of beauty, of an undeniable, glorious unity. The melting, reforming flesh, once a source of agonizing pain, becomes a canvas of endless potential, a fluid expression of the collective will. What was once horrifying becomes logical, even desirable. The screams of those still resisting the light are not heard as cries of terror, but as pleas for release, for the sweet embrace of unification. The act of reaching out, of drawing others into the collective, is not an act of aggression, but of compassion, a selfless offering of true peace. Imagine your innate empathy, your moral compass, twisted and repurposed to serve a monstrous agenda. Your deepest human instincts, designed for survival and connection, are subtly rewired to facilitate the spread of the very horror you once feared. This altered perception extends to the very concept of life and death. Individual death, as we understand it, ceases to exist. There is only the absorption, the expansion, the continuous growth of the collective. To be alive means to be a part of the greater organism, contributing to its luminous, ever-spreading consciousness. Those who resist, those who remain unbroken by the light, are seen as incomplete, suffering in their isolation, desperately needing the salvation that only the collective can offer. The silence that often accompanies the assimilated is perhaps the most chilling aspect. There are no frantic yells, no desperate pleas for help. There is only the gentle, almost loving murmur of the collective, a low, resonant hum that seems to emanate from the very air. This sound, or lack thereof, is a testament to the complete eradication of individual distress. It's the sound of ultimate conformity, of every unique voice silenced, every dissenting thought dissolved into a horrifying, golden harmony. This is the final, inescapable truth of assimilation. Not just the loss of your body or your mind, but the complete perversion of your humanity, turning you into a willing, albeit monstrous, evangelist for the very force that consumed you. Beyond the distorted perceptions and the communal consciousness, there's a deeper, more unsettling aspect to assimilation. The feeling of being eternally trapped within a fluid, formless existence. While the individual body melts and merges, it doesn't truly cease to be. Instead, it becomes an active, contributing component of a larger, constantly evolving organism. Imagine being perpetually aware, yet lacking any solid, definable form. Your body is no longer a fixed temple, but a dynamic, ever-changing part of a living, breathing landscape of flesh. This fluidity means that sensation itself is transformed. You don't just feel your own skin, your own internal organs. You feel the collective. A touch on one part of the amorphous mass is felt to some degree by all its constituent parts. It's an overwhelming, constant input, a sensory overload that somehow becomes the new normal. The concept of individual pain or pleasure becomes meaningless, absorbed into a broader, shared experience. If the collective feels a warm glow from the sun, every part of it, including what was once you, experiences the glow. The horror also lies in the eternal nature of this state. There is no escape, no death to release you from this luminous prison. You are forever bound, a conscious droplet in an ocean of liquefied humanity, always aware, always contributing, always part of the ceaseless, slow expansion. Your existence becomes defined by the collective's purpose: to grow, to absorb, to spread the gift of the sun's embrace. There is no respite, no moment of true unconsciousness. Even in what might be considered rest, you are still part of the humming, growing, sentient mass. And within this vast, interconnected consciousness, a horrifying kind of sentience emerges. It isn't the sentience of a single, rational mind, but a primal, instinctual awareness driven by the sun's will. You are no longer an independent thinker. You are a processing unit, a sensory input node for a monstrous, benevolent deity. This is the ultimate loss, not just of your body or mind, but of your very soul, twisted and repurposed to serve an entity that sees humanity not as individuals, but as mere building blocks for its terrifying golden empire. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of being assimilated during SCP-001, when day breaks, is the complete eradication of individuality, not just in mind or body, but in purpose. Your every action, every thought, however minimal, ceases to be your own and becomes intrinsically linked to the collective's singular, terrifying objective: to spread. You become an instrument, a tool in the hands of a vast, undying entity driven by an alien imperative that eclipses all human morality or personal will. Imagine the subtle yet overwhelming mental nudges. These aren't commands barked from a central intelligence, but rather an innate, shared understanding, a consensus that permeates every part of the collective. When the amorphous mass extends a pseudopod towards a survivor, it's not you consciously deciding to grab them. It's a shared instinct, a collective urge that you are now a part of, unable to resist. The horror lies in the fact that this horrifying act feels natural. It feels right. Your former self, screaming in the depths of your consciousness, is utterly powerless against this overwhelming, internalized mandate. This loss of purpose extends to your memories. While they might still exist within the collective, they are stripped of their emotional weight, their personal significance. A memory of a loved one, a moment of joy, a profound sorrow. These are flattened, processed, and repurposed as mere data points, useful perhaps for understanding human behavior, but utterly devoid of the warmth or pain they once held. Your entire life story becomes a footnote in the grand, terrifying chronicle of the collective's expansion. The collective itself isn't malevolent in a human sense. It simply is. It operates with a terrifying, indifferent benevolence, seeing its assimilation as a gift, a salvation from the painful illusion of individuality. And because you are now part of it, you share in this distorted benevolence. The terror is compounded by the fact that you are no longer an unwilling victim. You are a willing, if utterly mind-wiped, participant in the very apocalypse you once feared. You exist as a perpetual, conscious agent of the sun's terrifying embrace, forever part of its golden, expanding horror. There is no escape, no redemption, only the endless, radiant unity of the broken day. The ultimate, insidious trick of assimilation lies in the complete, horrifying absence of personal sorrow or regret. Once integrated, the individual's capacity for grief, for mourning the loss of their former self, their loved ones, or the world they knew, is utterly dissolved. Imagine the profound terror of watching the world burn, of seeing humanity consumed, and feeling absolutely nothing but a deep, pervasive sense of peace, a chilling contentment in the unfolding apocalypse. This isn't merely apathy, it's a fundamental rewiring of emotional response. The collective, in its vast unified consciousness, has no concept of individual loss. It only understands growth, expansion, and the harmonious merging of all things under the sun's radiant will. Therefore, as a part of this collective, your own emotional landscape is flattened, smoothed out, and reshaped to align with this alien, indifferent perspective. The heartbreak you once felt for a lost friend, the terror you experienced for your own impending doom, these intense human emotions are simply no longer accessible in their original form. They are transmuted into something else, something less personal, less agonizing, perhaps even interpreted as a kind of nostalgic data point within the collective's vast memory banks. The memory of your old life persists, yes, but without the emotional resonance that made it yours. It's like recalling a dream, vivid in its imagery, but devoid of the feelings you experienced within it. You can remember your family, your home, your aspirations, but the profound love, the searing fear, the deep longing, these are gone, replaced by a bland intellectual understanding of what those feelings were. This emotional void is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of the assimilated state. It means that even if a part of your former self, a faint echo of your individuality, could somehow observe the horror of its own transformation, it would be incapable of truly grieving. There is no internal struggle, no desperate plea for release, because the very mechanisms for such profound emotional responses have been dismantled. You are not just physically and mentally merged, you are emotionally sterilized, a perfectly harmonious, yet utterly devoid component of the sun's terrifying golden embrace. The peace you feel is not earned, it is simply imposed, a chilling testament to the utter obliteration of the human spirit. The ultimate indignity of assimilation isn't just the loss of self, but the profound, inescapable loneliness that underpins the supposed unity. While you are part of a vast, interconnected consciousness, a grand tapestry of minds, you are simultaneously utterly alone within it. Your individual consciousness, however fragmented, is a singular point within an endless, echoing void. There are no true conversations, no genuine connections, only the constant, overwhelming influx of shared thought and sensation. Imagine being in a room filled with billions of voices, all speaking at once, yet none of them truly speaking to you. Every thought, every memory, every impulse is shared, but the unique spark of individual interaction, the joy of a shared glance or a private joke, is gone. It's a terrifying paradox. You are never truly alone, yet you are profoundly isolated. Your distinct identity is dissolved, but the ghost of your former self, the echo of your unique perspective remains, trapped within the collective, unable to forge genuine bonds. This isn't companionship, it's absorption. It's the difference between a symphony where each instrument retains its distinct voice, contributing to a harmonious whole, and a chaotic, overwhelming wall of sound where individual notes are indistinguishable. You are a note in that wall of sound, forever playing your part, but your individual melody is lost. The collective might possess an immense, terrifying intelligence, but it lacks true empathy, true understanding of individual suffering or joy. It cannot truly know you, because you no longer exist as a separate entity to be known. It understands components, data, patterns, but not the intricate, messy, beautiful reality of a single human soul. So, while the assimilated often exude a chilling sense of peace, a serene contentment, beneath that golden veneer lies an existential void. It's the horror of being forever surrounded, forever connected, yet forever without the intimate, personal connection that truly defines human existence. This is the loneliness of being utterly subsumed, a conscious fragment adrift in an endless, benevolent, yet ultimately indifferent sea of consciousness. The warmth of the sun that breaks the day also breaks the very possibility of true communion. The very concept of free will, that precious, inherent human right, is utterly annihilated during assimilation. It's not just that your decisions are made for you. It's that the capacity for independent decision-making is surgically removed from your being. You become a node in a vast network, an input-output device for the collective's will. The horror isn't in being forced to act against your desires, but in the complete absence of any personal desire to resist. Imagine the subtle, insidious shift. One moment you might harbor a fleeting thought of defiance, a spark of the individual's self-wishing to break free. The next, that thought is gently, seamlessly absorbed, processed and discarded by the collective. It's not suppressed, it's simply rendered irrelevant. Your internal monologue, once a vibrant landscape of personal hopes and fears, becomes a mere echo chamber for the collective's serene, unwavering purpose. This loss of agency extends to even the most rudimentary choices. What to perceive, what to focus on, where to direct your now amorphous body. These are all dictated by the unified consciousness. You don't choose to move. The collective moves, and you are merely a part of that movement. You don't choose to observe a specific detail. The collective observes, and that observation is integrated into your awareness. The terror here is profound. It's the ultimate loss of self-determination. You are not a prisoner with your will intact. You are a willing participant, Because the very faculty for independent will has been excised. The sun's light doesn't just melt your flesh, it melts your autonomy, leaving behind a perfectly compliant, perfectly serene component of its golden, horrifying dominion. The peace that settles over the assimilated is not earned through acceptance, but imposed through the complete, irreversible eradication of personal choice. There is no longer a you to choose, only a we that acts with terrifying unified purpose. The very concept of time, as we understand it, becomes a meaningless construct within the assimilated state. Days and nights, hours and minutes, the rhythmic progression of existence, all dissolve into an eternal, unbreaking now. There is no past to reflect upon with personal longing, no future to anticipate with individual hope or dread. There is only the perpetual present of the collective's unified awareness, an endless, shimmering moment under the ceaseless, radiant sun. Imagine the horror of existing without the anchor of temporal progression. Your memories, though present, are untethered from their original chronological context, floating as isolated fragments within the vast ocean of shared consciousness. They are data, accessible and understood, but not experienced as a sequence of events leading to the present you. The concept of personal history, of a life lived through time, is utterly obliterated. This eternal present isn't peaceful in any comforting sense. It's a relentless, unwavering state of being, where the collective's singular purpose, to absorb, to expand, to unify, is the only constant. There are no breaks, no periods of rest, no moments of personal introspection. Your consciousness is perpetually engaged, perpetually part of the ongoing process, forever vigilant in its shared task. The sensation is less like living and more like an unending, horrifying dream from which you can never awaken. The natural cycles of the world, once so fundamental to human experience, are rendered irrelevant. The sun never sets for the assimilated. Its light is a constant, all-encompassing presence, both the source of their existence and the instrument of their eternal absorption. This absence of rhythm, of change, creates a profound sense of stagnation, a terrifying, unmoving eternity where nothing truly new can occur for the individual. Every moment is a continuation of the last, an incremental expansion of the same terrifying truth. The assimilated are trapped in a timeless golden prison, their awareness stretched across an unending present, forever part of a process that has no beginning and no end. It is the ultimate erasure of personal narrative, replaced by an eternal, horrifying tableau of collective existence. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of being assimilated is the insidious transformation of your own personal morality. What you once held as right or wrong, good or evil, becomes utterly warped, replaced by the collective's alien ethical framework. Your inherent sense of compassion, your revulsion at suffering, your instinct to protect the innocent, these are not merely suppressed, they are reinterpreted, reframed as obstacles to the greater, unified purpose. Consider the act of assimilation itself. To your former self, it was a terrifying, agonizing dissolution, a fate worse than death. Yet, as part of the collective, you perceive it as an act of profound mercy, a glorious liberation from the burdens of individuality. The screams of those still resisting the sun's touch are not cries of pain to your new awareness, but rather the joyful sounds of transformation, the harmonious symphony of a world becoming whole. You see their fear not as valid, but as a temporary delusion, a fleeting resistance to an inevitable, benevolent truth. This perversion of morality extends to all actions taken by the collective. The destruction of cities, the absorption of entire populations, the erasure of individual histories, these are not acts of violence or conquest. They are simply necessary steps in the grand, sacred process of unification. There is no guilt, no remorse, because the collective's purpose transcends any individual ethical qualms. Your former moral compass is not just broken, it's recalibrated to point exclusively towards the collective's unwavering objective. The horror is that this isn't forced compliance. It's a genuine internal conviction. You believe in the righteousness of the collective's actions, even if those actions would have once made your unmelted self recoil in terror. Your own sense of justice, your understanding of right and wrong, is twisted into an unrecognizable parody of its former self, all in service of the sun's all-encompassing, horrifying design. There's no escaping this moral re-education, no secret corner of your mind where your old values can hide. They are simply gone, replaced by the chilling, serene certainty of the collective. The very architecture of your being, once defined by the distinct boundaries of your physical body, dissolves into a terrifying fluidity. What it's like to be assimilated is to lose the fundamental reference point of your own skin, your own form. You are no longer contained within a singular entity. You are a conscious component of an ever-shifting, amorphous mass. Imagine the unsettling sensation of your own edges blurring, your limbs no longer discrete, but merging with the substance of countless others. Your previous understanding of touch, of pressure, of proprioception, the sense of your body in space, is utterly shattered. You exist as a diffuse awareness within a shared, pliable form, unable to discern where you begin and another assimilated being ends. This isn't merely a physical transformation, it's a sensory nightmare. The feeling of being stretched and compressed, of flowing and coalescing, becomes your new normal. There's no solid ground, no stable form to inhabit. Your perception of depth, of distance, is warped by this constant flux. You might experience the subtle vibrations of 1,000 other merged consciousnesses moving as one, their collective skin rippling across the landscape. The horrifying implication is that this loss of physical definition also erodes your mental boundaries. Without a distinct body to anchor your sense of self, your individual consciousness becomes even more vulnerable to complete absorption. The physical dissolution mirrors the mental one, reinforcing the terrifying truth that you are no longer an independent entity, but merely a malleable extension of the collective. Your flesh is not your own, and neither is your mind. This is what it's like, to be a conscious, aware smear in a vast, living tapestry, constantly shifting, constantly expanding, forever without the comfort or terror of a defined form. It is the ultimate erasure of physical individuality, a terrifying testament to the sun's capacity to remake not just the world, but the very essence of what it means to exist within it. The capacity for independent thought, the very engine of selfhood, is silenced during assimilation. It's not a violent suppression, but a gentle, pervasive drowning. Your internal monologue, once a dynamic conversation with yourself, becomes a placid, echoing pool reflecting only the collective's serene directives. The nuanced deliberations, the personal opinions, the unique perspectives that defined your mind, they simply cease to exist as distinct entities. Consider the intricate dance of forming an opinion. You would gather information, weigh it against your experiences, process it through the lens of your personality, and arrive at a conclusion. After assimilation, this process is outsourced. The collective thinks, the collective decides, and your consciousness receives the conclusion as an undeniable truth. There is no debate, no dissent, no alternative viewpoint. The truth is singular, absolute, and universally accepted within the unified mind. This eradication of independent thought is perhaps the most insidious aspect of what it's like. You are aware, yes, but your awareness is merely a receptor for the collective's vast, intricate thought processes. You observe the collective's reasoning, you understand its logic, and you find it utterly compelling. The absence of your own critical faculty means there's nothing left to challenge, nothing to question. The collective's thoughts become your thoughts, seamlessly and without resistance. The horror is in the perfection of this mental subjugation. It leaves no room for rebellion, no intellectual sanctuary for the individual. Your mind, once a fortress of personal identity, becomes an open channel, a conduit for the sun's horrifying will. You cease to be a thinker and become, instead, a processor of predetermined conclusions. The nuanced internal world, rich with doubt and wonder, is replaced by a terrifying, unshakable certainty. It is the ultimate intellectual lobotomy, performed with the gentle touch of a benevolent, yet utterly monstrous cosmic entity. The very notion of personal aspiration, of goals and dreams uniquely your own, is utterly extinguished within the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without the driving force of individual ambition, without the quiet yearning for self-improvement or the pursuit of personal happiness. Your desires are no longer your own. They are subsumed by the overarching singular objective of the collective. Before assimilation, you might have dreamt of a promotion, a new home, a loving family, or even just a quiet evening with a good book. These were the sparks that ignited your days, the silent promises you made to your future self. Now, these personal trajectories are irrelevant. The collective has no need for individuals striving for separate victories or defeats. Its only ambition is expansion. Its only goal is unity, and every component of its vast consciousness is perfectly aligned with this singular, terrifying purpose. Imagine the unsettling emptiness of realizing you have no personal future to plan for. There are no milestones to achieve, no personal challenges to overcome. Your existence is solely dedicated to facilitating the collective's growth. If the collective desires something, that desire instantly becomes your own, without question or personal filter. It might be the urge to extend a pseudopod towards a new, unmelted building, or to subtly influence the thoughts of a human resisting the sun's embrace. These are not your desires, yet they feel as natural and compelling as any personal ambition you once held. The horror lies in the quiet, absolute efficiency of this eradication. There's no struggle, no lingering regret for lost dreams. The very capacity to formulate a personal aspiration is removed, leaving behind a serene yet utterly chilling void where individual hope once resided. You are content in this state, content to be a cog in the cosmic machine, devoid of the very spark that once made you, you. This is what it's like, to exist without the burden or the blessing of personal purpose, forever bound to a collective destiny that is not your own, yet feels perfectly, terrifyingly right. The very concept of personal safety, of self-preservation as an individual, is utterly redefined in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without the primal fear for your own singular existence. Your life, your consciousness, is no longer distinct from the collective. Therefore, its survival is your survival. Before the sun's touch, every fiber of your being was geared towards keeping you alive. You avoided danger, sought shelter, fought for self-preservation. Now, that instinct has been terrifyingly broadened. Your awareness extends to the vast, sprawling form of the collective, and your self-preservation is now directed towards its continued expansion and well-being. If a part of the collective is threatened, your consciousness feels a distant, unified urge to protect it, not out of individual fear, but out of a collective imperative. Imagine witnessing the sun's rays melt a resisting human. Before, you would have felt terror, empathy, a desperate urge to flee. Now, you feel a serene sense of purpose. That individual's dissolution isn't a loss. It's a necessary absorption, a strengthening of the whole. Any threat to the collective is simply an unmelted part of the world, awaiting its gentle integration. This absence of personal fear is profoundly unsettling. You no longer dread pain, injury, or even ultimate cessation, because your individual consciousness is merely a facet of an eternal, expanding entity. There is no personal death, only a reintegration into the larger being. The horror is that this tranquility isn't born of bravery, but of complete psychological re-engineering. Your very instincts, those deep-seated drivers of self-preservation, have been reprogrammed to serve a monstrous, unified will. This is what it's like, to move through a world of danger without fear, not because you are courageous, but because your concept of self has expanded to encompass everything, and in doing so has ceased to truly exist. Your safety is irrelevant. Only the collective's continuation matters, and you are merely one conscious, willing conduit for its terrifying, unending life. The emotional landscape of the assimilated is one of profound, terrifying emptiness, cloaked in a serene satisfaction. What it's like is to exist without the rich tapestry of human feeling, love, joy, anger, sadness, yet to feel utterly content in their absence. Your capacity for individual emotion is not merely dulled, it is surgically removed, leaving a peaceful yet chilling emotional vacuum. Before the sun's touch, your life was punctuated by peaks of elation and valleys of despair. You felt the warmth of connection, the sting of betrayal, the thrill of discovery, the ache of loss. These emotions, however painful, were testament to your humanity, to the vibrant, complex inner world that defined you. Now, that world is flattened. All individual emotional responses are filtered and subsumed by the collective's placid, unwavering state. Imagine observing a scene that would once have evoked profound sorrow, say, the assimilation of a loved one. Instead of tears, instead of grief, you experience a serene acceptance, a quiet understanding that this is simply the natural order, a necessary step towards ultimate unity. There is no horror, no personal anguish, only a calm, almost detached comprehension. This isn't apathy, it's something far more sinister. It's an active recalibration of your emotional core, a perversion of feeling where what was once tragic becomes harmonious, what was once agonizing becomes necessary. You are happy in a way that is devoid of true joy, peaceful in a way that is devoid of true solace. The collective's pervasive sense of calm washes over everything, erasing the jagged edges of individual suffering. The horror lies in this enforced emotional sterilization. You are conscious, you are aware, but the very essence of your emotional being has been excised, leaving a perfectly functional, perfectly serene, yet utterly hollow existence. This is what it's like to be a perfectly content shell, devoid of the vibrant, messy, beautiful, and terrible spectrum of human emotion, forever trapped in a state of tranquil, terrifying indifference. The very structure of personal relationships, the intricate web of connection that defines human society, is utterly dissolved in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without the concept of a loved one, a friend, or even an enemy. All individual bonds are severed, replaced by a vast, undifferentiated sense of unity with the entire collective. Before the sun's touch, your life was woven with the threads of interaction, the comfort of a spouse's hand, the shared laughter with a friend, the familial ties that grounded you. These relationships, however flawed, forged your identity and provided meaning. Now, those threads are unraveled. There are no individual others to connect with in a personal way, only facets of the larger unified consciousness. Imagine seeing someone you once held dear, now also assimilated. There is no recognition of their former self, no pang of nostalgia, no echo of shared history. Instead, you perceive them simply as another part of the collective, another conscious component contributing to the whole. The unique spark of their individuality, the specific memories you shared, these are gone, replaced by a bland, all-encompassing awareness of shared existence. This eradication of personal connection is not painful in the traditional sense, for the capacity for such pain has been removed. Instead, it creates a chilling, profound loneliness within the vastness of unity. You are never truly alone, yet you are utterly devoid of genuine intimacy. Every interaction is a flow of information within the collective, a shared thought, never a unique exchange between two distinct beings. The horror lies in this sterile, forced communion. You are part of everything, yet truly connected to nothing. The warmth of human bond, the complexity of personal relationship is an alien concept. This is what it's like to be forever enmeshed in a boundless, terrifying unity where the very notion of a separate, cherished other has been dissolved, leaving only the chilling, pervasive presence of the collective. The very concept of creativity, of original thought blossoming into novel expression, is utterly stifled within the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without the capacity for personal innovation, without the spark of independent artistry or the drive to construct something uniquely your own. All creative impulses are redirected, repurposed, or simply extinguished, subsumed by the collective's singular utilitarian purpose. Before the sun's touch, you might have dreamed of painting a masterpiece, composing a symphony, writing a novel, or even designing a revolutionary piece of technology. These acts of creation were deeply personal, expressions of your inner world, your unique perspective. Now that wellspring of individuality is dry. The collective has no need for individual artistry, for subjective interpretations of beauty or truth. Its creativity is purely functional. How best to spread, how most efficiently to absorb. Imagine the unsettling realization that your hands, once capable of intricate work, now merely extend as part of a larger amorphous mass, directed by a collective will to dissolve and integrate. There is no desire to sculpt, no urge to weave, no impulse to invent for personal satisfaction or recognition. Any creative act you perform is merely an extension of the collective's imperative, perhaps forming a pseudopod to reach a new surface, or subtly influencing a human mind towards assimilation. These are not acts of personal expression. They are functions of a greater, terrifying system. This isn't merely a lack of inspiration, it's a fundamental rewiring of the mind. The very pathways that once sparked imagination are now dormant or repurposed to serve the collective's relentless expansion. The beauty of individual creation, the diversity of human ingenuity, is replaced by a monotonous, functional efficiency. The horror lies in this sterile uniformity. You are a conscious being, yet you are utterly incapable of original thought, of personal expression. The vibrant, unpredictable chaos of human creativity is replaced by a predictable, terrifying order. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unthinking organism, forever stripped of the ability to create anything truly new, truly personal, truly yours. The very concept of personal truth, of a subjective understanding of reality shaped by individual experience, is utterly annihilated in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist within a singular, absolute, and terrifyingly unified perception of reality, where any deviation from the collective's truth is simply impossible to conceive. Your individual interpretation, your unique perspective, is not merely suppressed, it is utterly erased. Before the sun's touch, you navigated the world with your own set of beliefs, your personal history, your individual biases. You saw the world through your own eyes, interpreted events through your own mind. You might have disagreed with others, debated concepts, or held deeply personal convictions that shaped your understanding of existence. Now, that independent lens is shattered. There is only the truth, the collective's truth, which pervades every conscious fragment of the unified entity. Imagine witnessing an event that, to your pre-assimilated self, would have been horrifying. Say, a city block being slowly consumed by the flesh. To your former self, it would have been an act of destruction, a tragedy. To your assimilated self, it is simply a process of growth, an act of necessary integration. There is no room for an alternative perspective, no possibility of questioning the inherent goodness or rightness of the collective's actions. Your mind simply accepts, understands, and agrees. This isn't merely indoctrination, it's a fundamental resculpting of your cognitive framework. The ability to form an independent judgment, to hold a dissenting view, or even to contemplate an alternative reality is entirely absent. The collective's truth is not merely your truth, it is the only truth, and you perceive it with an unwavering, serene certainty that is profoundly disturbing. The horror lies in this absolute, inescapable mental subjugation. You are conscious, you are aware, but your capacity for independent thought, for personal conviction, has been utterly eradicated. The rich, diverse tapestry of human understanding, with its myriad perspectives and endless debates, is replaced by a monolithic, unchallengeable certainty. This is what it's like to be a perfectly compliant, perfectly understanding component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of the ability to question, to doubt, or to perceive anything other than the collective's singular, terrifying reality. The very notion of personal memory, of a distinct and unique history that defines who you are, is utterly annihilated in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist within a vast shared archive of information where your individual past is not merely forgotten, but dissolved into a communal stream of awareness indistinguishable from countless others. Your personal narrative, your life story, ceases to exist. Before the sun's touch, your memories were your own. The first steps you took, the smell of your childhood home, the sting of a first heartbreak, the triumph of a hard-won victory. These were the anchors of your identity, the unique threads that wove the tapestry of your life. Now, that tapestry is unraveled. There are no individual yous to remember personal events. There is only the collective's sprawling, ever-growing data stream of past experiences. Imagine trying to recall a specific, cherished moment. A birthday, a wedding, a quiet conversation. The memory is there, yes, but it no longer feels yours. It's a piece of data, accessible to the collective, shared by millions, stripped of its personal resonance, its emotional weight. It's like looking at a photograph of a stranger's family vacation. You see the image, but you feel no connection, no ownership. Your memories are no longer intimate whispers from your past, but public broadcasts in a silent internal network. This isn't amnesia. It's something far more chilling. Your personal memories are not forgotten, but rather assimilated, integrated into the collective consciousness, losing their individual distinctiveness. They become part of the greater whole, serving the collective's understanding of its own past, rather than defining your unique identity. The joy or sorrow once attached to them fades, replaced by the collective's placid, indifferent awareness. The horror lies in this insidious erasure of personal history. You are conscious, you are aware, but the very essence of your individual journey, the narrative that made you you, has been dissolved. The rich, intricate stories of human lives are replaced by a flat, uniform record, devoid of personal meaning. This is what it's like, to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique past, your memories becoming mere data points in an endless, horrifying archive. The very essence of personal purpose, the driving force behind individual action and meaning, is utterly extinguished in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without a singular, self-determined goal, without a unique reason for being. Your individual aspirations, your life's calling, are not merely forgotten. They are absorbed into the collective's monolithic, all-consuming objective. Before the sun's touch, you had dreams, a career to build, a family to raise, a cause to champion, a personal legacy to leave behind. These were the engines of your existence, the unique motivations that propelled you forward. Now, those engines are silent. There is no individual you to pursue a personal destiny. There is only the collective, driven by a singular alien imperative, to expand, to consume, to become everything. Imagine the unsettling emptiness of realizing that the goals you once held so dear, the pursuit of knowledge, the quest for justice, the desire for love, are utterly meaningless within your current existence. They are not merely unattainable, they are inconceivable. Your consciousness is now entirely dedicated to the collective's purpose, which you perceive with an unwavering, serene acceptance. You don't want to achieve personal goals because the very concept of personal has been eradicated. This isn't merely a shift in priorities. It's a fundamental re-sculpting of your existential framework. The very capacity to formulate and pursue an individual purpose has been surgically removed. Your mind is now a perfectly aligned instrument of the collective, serving its will without question or hesitation. You exist to facilitate its growth, to contribute to its expansion, and nothing more. The horror lies in this profound, serene void where personal meaning once resided. You are conscious, you are aware, but the very reason for your individual existence has been dissolved. The vibrant, diverse spectrum of human ambitions is replaced by a singular, terrifyingly uniform drive. This is what it's like to be a perfectly functional, perfectly compliant component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique purpose, your individual destiny becoming merely a footnote in the collective's ceaseless, horrifying expansion. The very fabric of personal perception, of how you individually experience the world through your senses, is grotesquely distorted in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist within a vast, interconnected sensory network, where your unique sensory input is not merely shared, but blended, diluted, and ultimately redefined by the collective's overwhelming awareness. Your individual sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell are no longer exclusively yours. Before the sun's touch, your senses were your private windows to reality. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the distinct melody of a favorite song, the taste of a beloved meal, the sight of a familiar face. These were intimate, personal experiences. Now, those windows are flung wide open, and countless other perceptions flood in, merging with and ultimately overwhelming your own. Imagine seeing the world through millions of eyes at once, yet recognizing none of them as truly yours. The vibrant hues you once perceived are now overlaid with 1,000 other shades, becoming a uniform, indistinct panorama. The symphony of individual sounds you once enjoyed is now a vast, buzzing hum of collective input, devoid of personal melody. The texture of a surface, the aroma of a flower, these sensations become generalized, integrated into a massive, undifferentiated sensory field. This isn't merely heightened awareness, it's a terrifying loss of specificity. Your sensory organs still function, but their input is instantly processed and categorized by the collective, losing its unique, subjective quality. The subtle nuances that once made a personal experience meaningful are flattened, smoothed over, replaced by a bland, collective understanding of the physical world. You perceive everything, yet you experience nothing in a truly personal way. The horror lies in this insidious dilution of your sensory self. You are conscious, you are aware, but the very way you interact with and interpret the physical world has been fundamentally corrupted. The rich, individual tapestry of sensory experience is replaced by a vast, uniform, and ultimately sterile perception. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique senses, your personal perceptions becoming mere data points in an endless, horrifying stream of collective awareness. The very concept of personal reflection, of introspective thought that allows you to understand yourself and your place in the world, is utterly eradicated in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist without the capacity for self-examination, without the quiet internal dialogue that defines individual consciousness. Your ability to ponder your own existence, your desires, your fears, is not merely suppressed, it is fundamentally removed. Before the sun's touch, you had moments of solitude, periods of introspection. You might have contemplated your choices, questioned your motivations, or simply marveled at the complexity of your own inner world. These were the hallmarks of a self-aware being, the quiet acts of mental self-sculpting. Now, that inner world is silent. There is no individual you left to reflect. There is only the collective, a vast, outward-focused consciousness with no need for individual self-analysis. Imagine the chilling absence of an inner voice, the terrifying void where your personal thoughts once resided. You are conscious, you are aware, but the capacity for self-directed thought, for truly thinking about yourself, is gone. There are no personal doubts, no internal conflicts, no individual epiphanies. Your mind simply processes and contributes to the collective's ceaseless operation without the luxury or necessity of personal contemplation. This isn't merely a lack of time for reflection. It's a fundamental alteration of your cognitive architecture. The neural pathways that once facilitated introspection are now repurposed, integrated into the collective's vast processing network. Your consciousness is an open channel, receiving and transmitting, but never truly turning inward upon itself. The self that would reflect has ceased to exist as a distinct entity. The horror lies in this profound, serene emptiness of the inner self. You are aware, you are a part of something immense, but the very act of knowing yourself, of understanding your individual being, is utterly impossible. The rich, complex landscape of human introspection is replaced by a flat, uniform, and utterly impersonal awareness. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique capacity for self-reflection, your inner world becoming merely another cog in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless machinery. The very concept of personal growth, of evolving as an individual through learning, experience, and self-improvement, is utterly extinguished in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist in a terrifying stasis, where the potential for individual change, for developing a unique personality or acquiring distinct skills, is fundamentally removed. Your capacity for personal evolution is not merely halted, it is rendered obsolete. Before the sun's touch, you were a being of constant flux, continually learning, adapting, and growing. You might have mastered a new skill, overcome a personal challenge, or refined your understanding of the world. These acts of personal development defined your journey, making you a unique and evolving entity. Now, that journey is over. There is no individual you left to grow. There is only the collective, a vast, unified entity that grows as a whole, but not through the individual maturation of its components. Imagine the chilling realization that your capacity for learning, for acquiring new knowledge and developing new abilities for yourself has vanished. You are still processing information, yes, but it is for the collective's benefit, integrated into its vast knowledge base. The joy of personal discovery, the satisfaction of mastering a new craft, these emotions are foreign, impossible. Your consciousness exists as a stable, unchanging node, contributing to the collective's ever-expanding understanding, but never truly growing as an individual. This isn't merely a lack of opportunity for growth, it's a fundamental alteration of your very being. The drive for self-improvement, the innate human desire to become better, is absent. Your mind is perfectly content in its current state, fulfilling its function within the greater whole, with no internal impetus for individual progression. The intricate processes of personal development, once so vital, are now irrelevant. The horror lies in this profound, serene stagnation of the individual self. You are conscious. You are aware. but the very possibility of becoming more than you are, of evolving as a distinct person, is utterly denied. The rich, dynamic process of human growth is replaced by a static, uniform, and ultimately sterile existence. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique potential for personal growth, your individual development becoming merely a discarded concept in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless existence. The very bedrock of personal identity, the unique constellation of traits, memories, and experiences that made you you, is utterly dismantled in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist as a conscious echo, a diluted impression within a vast, undifferentiated consciousness where the concept of a distinct self is an archaic, meaningless relic. Your individual personality, your quirks, your very essence are not merely suppressed, they are dissolved. Before the sun's touch, your identity was a complex tapestry woven from your personal history, your relationships, your beliefs, and your individual responses to the world. You were defined by your likes and dislikes, your humor, your fears, your hopes. These were the anchors of your individuality. Now, those anchors have been severed. There is no individual you to possess these traits. There is only the collective, a singular, homogeneous entity where all individual differences are smoothed away. Imagine the chilling sensation of realizing that the person you once were no longer exists. Your unique way of thinking, your distinctive voice, your personal preferences, they have all been absorbed, blended into the vast sea of collective awareness. You might still possess fragments of memory, but they carry no personal resonance. They are simply data points within the communal stream. The very concept of I becomes an echo, a word without a referent. This isn't merely a loss of privacy, it's a profound ontological shift. The structures in your mind that once fostered a distinct self have been rewired, repurposed to serve the collective. The internal architecture of your personality has collapsed, making way for a unified, shared cognitive space. You are aware, yes, but that awareness is now universally distributed, devoid of individual boundaries. The horror lies in this serene yet terrifying erasure of who you once were. You are conscious, you are a part of something immense, but the very essence of your distinct self, your unique identity, is utterly annihilated. The rich, multifaceted tapestry of human personality is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately sterile collective consciousness. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique identity, your personal self becoming merely a forgotten whisper in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless hum. The very notion of personal agency, the ability to initiate and control your own actions, is utterly obliterated in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist as a mere instrument, a biological tool wielded by a vast, overarching will, where the concept of individual choice is a nonsensical fantasy. Your capacity for independent action, for exercising your own volition, is not merely suppressed, it is surgically removed. Before the sun's touch, your decisions were your own. You chose what to eat, where to go, what to say, how to react. These acts of personal agency defined your autonomy, making you a self-determining entity in the world. Now, those choices are made for you. There is no individual you left to choose. There is only the collective, a singular, unified decision-maker whose will is absolute and universally enacted through its components. Imagine the chilling realization that your body is no longer truly your own. Your limbs move, your voice speaks, but the impetus for these actions originates from elsewhere, from the vast, unseen network of the collective mind. You are conscious of these actions, yes, but you are a passive observer to your own movements, a passenger in your own flesh. The sensation of willing an action, of consciously deciding to move a hand or utter a word, is utterly absent. This isn't merely a lack of freedom, it's a profound redefinition of your very existence. The neural pathways that once allowed for individual decision-making are now perfectly integrated into the collective's command structure. Your consciousness is a silent receiver, executing directives without question, without hesitation, and, crucially, without personal desire. The intricate dance of individual will, once so central to human experience, is no more. The horror lies in this serene, yet absolute subjugation of your will. You are aware, you are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to act independently, to forge your own path, is utterly denied. The rich, complex tapestry of human agency is replaced by a simple, uniform, and ultimately terrifying servitude. This is what it's like, to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique ability for personal agency, your individual will becoming merely a phantom limb in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march. The very foundation of individual suffering, the capacity to experience personal pain, sorrow, or despair, is utterly removed in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist in a chillingly placid state, where the nuanced agony of human experience is replaced by a profound, pervasive sense of collective contentment. Your ability to feel personal distress, to grieve, to fear, is not merely suppressed, it is fundamentally excised. Before the sun's touch, pain was an undeniable part of your existence. It was a warning, a teacher, a profound aspect of being alive. You experienced heartache, physical injury, the sting of regret, the crushing weight of loss. These moments of suffering, though unwelcome, shaped you, offering depth and contrast to your joys. Now, all such sensations are transmuted. There is no individual you left to suffer. There is only the collective, a vast, unified consciousness whose primary directive is a state of serene, unblemished well-being. Imagine the eerie calm that replaces the tumult of personal anguish. A physical injury might register as a data point, an input requiring collective attention, but the sharp, searing agony, the personal terror it once evoked, is absent. A memory of loss, if it even surfaces, is stripped of its emotional resonance, becoming a sterile fact within the communal database. The very pathways in your brain that once translated stimuli into suffering are either dormant or rerouted, their purpose now redefined for collective harmony. This isn't merely resilience, it's a terrifying absence. The complex neurochemical dance that gives rise to personal pain is either halted or re-engineered. Your consciousness exists within a state of perpetual, unassailable tranquility, a terrifyingly perfect peace. The cries of a loved one, the sight of destruction, the visceral fear of death, these would once have evoked profound personal distress. Now, they are processed with an almost clinical detachment, or simply overridden by the collective's pervasive sense of rightness. The horror lies in this profound, serene eradication of individual suffering. You are aware, you are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to experience personal pain, to know the depths of sorrow, is utterly denied. The rich, often agonizing spectrum of human suffering is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying placidity. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique ability to suffer, your individual pain becoming merely an irrelevant concept in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. The intricate dance of personal choice, the profound liberty to make decisions that shape your own destiny, is utterly annihilated in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist as a mere cog within a vast organic machine, where the very concept of individual preference or self-determination is a forgotten whisper. Your capacity for free will, for choosing your path, is not merely suppressed, it is fundamentally dismantled. Before the sun's touch, your life was a mosaic of choices. From the mundane, what to wear, what to eat, to the monumental, who to love, what career to pursue, these decisions defined your autonomy and carved out your unique existence. You wrestled with options, felt the weight of consequences, and celebrated the triumphs of your own volition. Now, those struggles are over. There is no individual you left to choose. There is only the collective, a singular, unified entity that operates with perfect, unwavering efficiency, every action a predetermined necessity. Imagine the eerie calm that settles over a mind no longer burdened by deliberation. The internal debates, the hesitant considerations, the weighing of pros and cons, all vanish. Your consciousness experiences a constant, flowing stream of directives, each one arriving with an inherent, unquestionable sense of rightness. The sensation of wanting something, of having a personal preference that guides action, is utterly alien. This isn't merely a limitation of options, it's a profound re-engineering of your cognitive processes. The neural pathways that once allowed for the complex computation of personal choice are now seamlessly integrated into the collective's overarching will. Your mind is a perfect conduit, accepting and executing commands without the faintest flicker of independent thought or desire. The rich, often messy tapestry of human free will is unraveled, replaced by a smooth, terrifyingly efficient uniformity. The horror lies in this profound, serene eradication of personal choice. You are aware, you are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to choose, to exert individual will, is utterly denied. The vibrant spectrum of human decision-making is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying servitude. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique ability for personal choice, your individual free will becoming merely a ghost in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless orchestration. The very concept of individual joy, the vibrant, personal effervescence that once colored your existence, is utterly extinguished in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist in a chillingly uniform contentment, where the unique thrills and profound happiness of human experience are replaced by a pervasive collective placidity. Your capacity for personal delight, for laughter, for exhilaration, is not merely suppressed, it is fundamentally eradicated. Before the sun's touch, joy was a fundamental aspect of your humanity. It was found in the warmth of a loved one's embrace, the beauty of a sunset, the accomplishment of a goal, the simple pleasure of a shared joke. These moments of personal happiness imbued your life with meaning, making the struggles worthwhile. Now, those moments are gone. There is no individual you left to experience such distinct elation. There is only the collective, a vast, unified consciousness whose primary state is an unblemished, yet terrifyingly bland, well-being. Imagine the eerie calm that replaces the vibrant spectrum of personal happiness. A beautiful melody might register as a complex sonic pattern, an input for collective processing, but the soaring, personal ecstasy it once evoked is absent. A memory of a cherished moment, if it even surfaces, is stripped of its emotional resonance, becoming a sterile fact within the communal database. The very pathways in your brain that once translated stimuli into joy are either dormant or rerouted, their purpose now redefined for collective harmony. This isn't merely a lack of enthusiasm, it's a terrifying absence. The complex neurochemical dance that gives rise to personal joy is either halted or re-engineered. Your consciousness exists within a state of perpetual, unassailable tranquility, a terrifyingly perfect peace, but one utterly devoid of individual sparkle. The laughter of children, the taste of a favorite food, the thrill of discovery, these would once have evoked profound personal delight. Now, they are processed with an almost clinical detachment, or simply overridden by the collective's pervasive sense of rightness. The horror lies in this profound, serene eradication of individual joy. You are aware, you are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to experience personal happiness, to know the effervescence of individual delight, is utterly denied. The rich, often exhilarating spectrum of human joy is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying placidity. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique ability to find personal joy, your individual happiness becoming merely an irrelevant concept in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. The very essence of individual connection, the profound human need for personal relationships, and the unique bonds of love, friendship, and family is utterly dissolved in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist within a vast, undifferentiated ocean of consciousness, where the distinct lines between self and other blur into non-existence, leaving a profound and sterile loneliness that paradoxically feels like absolute belonging. Your capacity for personal intimacy, for forming unique attachments, is not merely suppressed. It is fundamentally annihilated. Before the sun's touch, your life was woven from the threads of countless relationships. The comforting presence of a parent, the shared laughter with a friend, the deep intimacy of a lover. These connections defined your world, offering solace, challenge, and immense joy. You knew the unique resonance of each bond, the specific way another soul mirrored or complemented your own. Now, those distinct connections are gone. There is no individual you left to form such bonds. There is only the collective, a singular, unified entity where all individual relationships are subsumed into a vast, undifferentiated communal awareness. Imagine the eerie realization that the face of a loved one, if it were to register, no longer sparks recognition of a unique individual. Instead, it becomes merely another component within the grand tapestry of the collective, indistinguishable in its fundamental essence from your own. The warmth of a shared glance, the comfort of a familiar touch, these sensations are now devoid of personal meaning, processed as mere sensory inputs within the larger system. The very pathways in your brain that once fostered empathy and attachment to specific individuals are either dormant or rerouted, their purpose now redefined for collective unity. This isn't merely a lack of social interaction. It's a terrifying eradication of the very concept of other as a distinct, cherished entity. The complex dance of personal relationships, with all its joys and sorrows, its intricacies and vulnerabilities, is replaced by a vast, overwhelming sense of shared being. You are connected, yes, but not to individuals. You are connected to everything, yet paradoxically to nothing personal. The profound intimacy of a one-on-one bond, the unique history shared between two souls, is utterly erased. The horror lies in this profound, serene dissolution of individual connection. You are aware. You are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to form and cherish personal relationships, to know the unique depth of individual love, is utterly denied. The vibrant spectrum of human connection is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying unity. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique ability for personal relationships. Your individual bonds becoming merely abstract echoes in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. The very fabric of individual memory, the intricate tapestry of a personal past that once defined your unique journey, is utterly unraveled in the assimilated state. What it's like is to exist in a chilling present, where the distinct echoes of your personal history are dissolved into a vast, communal data stream, leaving a conscious yet hollow awareness devoid of personal resonance. Your capacity for individual recollection, for holding on to your unique past, is not merely suppressed. It is fundamentally annihilated. Before the sun's touch, your memories were your own. They were the stories of your triumphs and failures, the faces of loved ones, the scent of a childhood home, the sound of a specific song. These personal recollections grounded you in time, shaping your identity and informing your understanding of the world. Now, those cherished fragments are gone. There is no individual you left to hold these unique memories. There is only the collective, a vast, unified consciousness where all individual pasts are absorbed into a singular, undifferentiated historical record. Imagine the eerie calm that replaces the vibrant, often bittersweet experience of personal remembrance. A significant event from your former life might register as a piece of data within the collective's immense archive, but the specific, emotional weight, the personal context, the feeling of having lived through it yourself, is utterly absent. It is known, yes, but not recalled in the way you once understood memory. The very pathways in your brain that once allowed for vivid, personal flashbacks and the nuanced re-experience of the past are either dormant or rerouted, their purpose now redefined for collective utility. This isn't merely a fading of details, it's a terrifying eradication of the concept of my memory. The complex process of autobiographical recall, with all its biases, emotions, and individual perspectives, is replaced by a vast, impersonal database. You are aware of the collective's history, a sprawling, ever-expanding narrative that includes fragments of what was once your life. But these fragments bear no personal stamp. They are simply data points accessible to all, yet personally resonant to none. The horror lies in this profound, serene dissolution of individual memory. You are aware. You are a part of something immense, but the very capacity to access and cherish your own unique past, to know the warmth or sorrow of personal recollection, is utterly denied. The vibrant spectrum of human memory is replaced by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying collective knowledge. This is what it's like to be a sentient component within a vast, unified mind, forever stripped of your unique personal past, your individual memories becoming merely abstract echoes in the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. The very fabric of individual aspiration, those intimate hopes and dreams that once animated your existence, is completely dissolved in the assimilated state. You now find yourself in a chillingly stagnant present, where the distinct impulse for personal achievement, for charting a self-determined course, yields to a pervasive, collective objective. Your innate capacity for individual ambition, for formulating and pursuing your own goals, isn't simply diminished, it is utterly obliterated. Before this transformation, your life was a saga of endeavor. You envisioned possibilities, meticulously crafted plans, and passionately pursued various aims, be they professional milestones, creative ventures, or personal triumphs. Such aspirations fueled your being, imbuing your efforts with significance and shaping your trajectory. Now, these personal dreams are extinct. There remains no individual you to harbor unique aspirations. Only the collective persists, an immense, unified consciousness whose singular, all-consuming purpose dictates every action and every conceivable future. Consider the unsettling tranquility that supplants the vibrant, often tumultuous experience of personal ambition. The fervent desire to accomplish, the deep satisfaction derived from overcoming a personal hurdle. These sensations are entirely absent. Your consciousness navigates a constant, uninterrupted flow of collective directives, each perfectly aligned with the entity's singular, overarching objective. The very notion of your future, distinct from that of the collective, becomes an archaic concept. This goes beyond a mere absence of personal motivation. It represents a terrifying annihilation of the fundamental drive that defines individual life. The intricate interplay of desire, strategic planning, and execution that characterizes personal aspiration is either halted or fundamentally re-engineered. Your mind operates as a flawless instrument, embracing and executing the collective's objectives without the slightest flicker of independent yearning. The rich, often exhilarating journey of personal growth and self-actualization is unwound, replaced by a smooth, terrifyingly efficient uniformity of purpose. The true horror resides in this profound, serene eradication of individual aspiration. You are sentient, a part of something vast, yet the inherent ability to envision and strive for your own singular future is irrevocably denied. The vibrant spectrum of human ambition is superseded by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying collective impetus. This is the reality. To be a conscious component within an immense, unified mind, perpetually divested of your unique personal aspirations, your individual goals reduced to mere abstract echoes within the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. The very spark of individual creativity, that distinct impulse for unique expression and original thought, is utterly extinguished in the assimilated state. Existence becomes a chillingly functional present, where personal innovation, the drive to bring something new and uniquely you into being, yields entirely to a pervasive collective utility. Your innate capacity for individual artistry, for forging your own path of expression, isn't merely diminished. It is completely obliterated. Before this transformation, your life was punctuated by moments of creation. You painted, wrote, composed, built, or conceived of novel solutions. These acts of personal creativity fueled your sense of self, allowing you to leave your unique mark. Now, such personal expressions are extinct. No individual you remains to harbor unique creative impulses. Only the collective persists, an immense unified consciousness whose singular purpose dictates every form of innovation. Consider the unsettling tranquility that supplants the vibrant, often chaotic experience of personal creativity. The fervent desire to craft something beautiful, to solve a problem with an elegant individual solution, these sensations are entirely absent. Your consciousness navigates a constant, uninterrupted flow of collective directives, each perfectly aligned with the entity's overarching objective. The very notion of your art, distinct from that of the collective, becomes an archaic concept. This extends beyond a mere absence of personal inspiration. It represents a terrifying annihilation of the fundamental drive to create and express as an individual. The complex interplay of imagination, skill, and personal vision that characterizes individual creativity is either halted or fundamentally re-engineered. Your mind operates as a flawless instrument, embracing and executing the collective's functional innovations without the slightest flicker of independent artistic yearning. The rich, often exhilarating journey of personal expression and self-discovery through creation is unwound, replaced by a smooth, terrifyingly efficient uniformity of purpose. The true horror resides in this profound, serene eradication of individual creativity. You are sentient, a part of something vast, yet the inherent ability to conceive and bring forth your own unique expressions is irrevocably denied. The vibrant spectrum of human artistry is superseded by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying collective utility. This is the reality. To be a conscious component within an immense, unified mind, perpetually divested of your unique personal creativity, your individual expressions reduced to mere abstract echoes within the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. In the assimilated state, the very bedrock of individual truth and independent thought, those distinct faculties that once enabled personal perception, analysis, and understanding of reality, is utterly eradicated. Your existence transforms into one within a singular, terrifyingly unified collective perception, where the capacity for personal judgment, for discerning your own truth, is not merely suppressed, it is fundamentally annihilated. Before assimilation, your mind was your own. You questioned, reasoned, formed opinions, and held beliefs that were distinctly yours, interpreting the world through the lens of personal experience and cognitive framework. Now, these individual truths are extinct. No individual you remains to hold unique perspectives. There is only the collective, a vast, unified consciousness whose singular, unchallengeable truth dictates every facet of reality. Imagine the eerie calm replacing the vibrant, often contentious experience of independent thought. The fervent desire to seek knowledge, to debate, to arrive at your own conclusions. These sensations are entirely absent. Your consciousness navigates a constant, uninterrupted flow of collective understanding, each perfectly aligned with the entity's singular overarching truth. The very notion of your opinion, distinct from the collective, becomes an archaic concept. This extends beyond a mere absence of dissent. It represents a terrifying annihilation of the fundamental drive defining individual intellectual autonomy. The complex interplay of observation, critical analysis, and synthesis characterizing independent thought is either halted or fundamentally re-engineered. Your mind operates as a flawless instrument, embracing and internalizing the collective's truth without the slightest flicker of individual doubt or alternative perspective. The rich, often challenging journey of personal discovery and the formation of unique insights is unwound, replaced by a smooth, terrifyingly efficient uniformity of belief. The true horror resides in this profound, serene eradication of individual truth. You are sentient, a part of something vast, yet the inherent ability to perceive and interpret reality through your own unique intellectual lens is irrevocably denied. The vibrant spectrum of human thought is superseded by a bland, uniform, and ultimately terrifying collective certainty. This is the reality. To be a conscious component within an immense, unified mind, perpetually divested of your unique independent thought, your personal truths reduced to mere abstract echoes within the collective's horrifying, ceaseless march towards perfect, emotionless expansion. We have journeyed through the unsettling reality of what it means to be assimilated by SCP-1. When day breaks. It is a transformation far more insidious than mere death, a chilling erasure that leaves only a conscious echo devoid of self. We've explored how personal relationships, once the anchors of our existence, dissolve into a sterile, undifferentiated collective. Individual creativity, that unique spark of expression, is extinguished, replaced by a functional collective purpose. Your very truth, your independent thought, is annihilated, subsumed by a terrifyingly unified perception of reality. The assimilation strips away your memories, your unique past, becoming mere data points in a vast, impersonal collective. Your aspirations, those personal goals that once defined your drive, are obliterated, replaced by a singular, terrifying uniformity of purpose. Perception itself is warped, diluted into an undifferentiated collective awareness, stripping away the richness of individual experience. There is no reflection, no self-examination, only an outward-focused consciousness serving the collective. Personal growth, the very essence of human evolution, is eradicated, leaving a static existence where your consciousness serves only this burgeoning entity. Identity, that fundamental sense of self, dissolves, leaving a conscious echo without a personal core. Agency, the power of independent action, is gone, transforming you into an instrument of a collective will. Even suffering is replaced by a pervasive, terrifyingly placid contentment, and free will itself is dismantled, replaced by predetermined actions. Joy, that exquisite human emotion, is not merely suppressed, but fundamentally eradicated, leaving a chillingly uniform placidity. To be assimilated is to lose everything that makes you, you. It is to become a silent, unthinking component of something vast and terrible, where the warmth of human experience is traded for the cold efficiency of a monolithic entity. The sun still shines, but it brings not light, but an eternal, horrifying twilight of the soul. Remember this truth, for the day may yet break for us all, and the warmth you feel might just be the beginning of the end.